Human consciousness emerges over time. From the moment of conception, a process of neurodevelopment and a complexification begins, generating and supporting a neuroelectric field that can be quantified by computational methods from dynamical systems theory. In the early embryo, genetically driven cellular processes are mediated by endogenous electromagnetic fields and intrinsic electrical fields produced by migrating neurons. In the ambient cellular environment, these interactions influence each other, impacting neural migration. The emergence of theory of mind, often considered a hallmark of conscious awareness, is accomplished by increasing neural connectivity, neuroelectric field complexity, and more integrated information processing. Neurodegeneration in old age and the often associated decline in conscious awareness correlate closely with changes in the dynamical complexity of the neuroelectric field. Monitoring trajectories of the neuroelectric field and its complexity changes through the lifespan presents a development perspective and empirical correlation for studying the emergence and the decline of human consciousness is typically studied empirically by measuring physiological correlates of observed states such as sleep, epileptic seizures, or anesthesia-induced unconsciousness, and comparing these to awake states in the same individual. While this approach may not directly address the hard problem of consciousness, it may add to our understanding of mind-brain behavior relationships that underlie consciousness. A less common approach to studying neural correlates of consciousness is to analyze its emergence through development from conception to old age and death. Between conception and adulthood, consciousness gradually unfolds, leading to a fully conscious human being. Increasing evidence suggests that consciousness emerges relatively early, possibly in early infancy or even the electromagnetic field produced and maintained by neural and other physiological activity will henceforth be called the neuroelectric field, noting that this term is not intended to exclude extraneuronal, subcellular, or other physiological or external influences. The neuroelectric field may be considered the physical substrate and proximate cause of thought and behavior, although the neuroelectric field and physiological processes are coextensive spatially and temporally, suggesting two dimensions or aspects of the body-mind system. While the neuroelectric field is dependent on neurophysiological processes and influenced by extraneural fields, such as cardiac electrical fields, it is directly measurable and quantifiable. The neuroelectric field is a dynamical system that may be analyzed by methods and concepts of dynamical theory. Any dynamical system is capable of information processing, and the information processing capacity of a dynamical system is related to its complexity. This principle has been exploited to create a type of neuromorphic device called the reservoir computer based on physical dynamical systems. Mathematical developments of the neuroelectric field as a dynamical system can be found in dynamical field theory or DFT literature, which provide a framework for linking the neuroelectric field to sensory, motor, as well as cognitive function. A key concept of early brain functional development is the formation and organization of functional neural networks that form the basis for the development or the neurocognitive capabilities and are the rare primary generator for the neuroelectric field. The neuroelectric field dynamics generally become more complex as the newborn matures, from conception through the stages of childhood, adolescence, adulthood, etc. Increasing complexity may not be a single measure, but may vary by region. It does not occur uniformly over the developmental time of the human being and may involve multiple measures, which may include entropy measures. The primary endogenous force driving the development of the neuroelectric field is genetic, guiding neurodevelopment by shaping neural structures and pathways responsible for the neural networks, sustaining the neuroelectric field, and are involved with learning, memory, and behavior. A feedback mechanism may also be involved. Control of genetically driven cellular processes is mediated by the electromagnetic field produced by different neural networks that function as nanoelectronic generators within cells. In the early embryo, intrinsic electrical fields from migrating neurons and cellular environments influence each other, impacting neural migration. Disruption of the endogenous electromagnetic field can lead to severe neural defects. The complexity of the cellular electromagnetic field has yet to be studied, of course. EEG signals, or the electrical field signals within the brain, are typically more synchronized and we might assume less complex in early infancy than during childhood and later stages of life. Delta and theta brainwaves frequency, for example, predominate early, with beta increasing with age, indicating growing alertness in adulthood. Development of more distinct ERP components is also observed to increase with age, suggesting greater responsiveness of the neuroelectric field to specific stimuli. Entropy, which is one common measure of complexity, is generally relatively low during this stage, which may reflect the immature state of neural networks and thus the neuroelectric field, and may be correlated with the underdeveloped nature of awareness and conscious experience in the human being. In this sense, entropy, as one measure of complexity, might be a useful correlate to levels of human. An important milestone of this period of childhood in humans is the development of the theory of mind, where children begin to be aware of others having thoughts, feelings, and perspectives different from their own. The emergence of theory of mind is a milestone in development that is especially relevant to consciousness and is central to social cognition. Its development is especially relevant to this social cognition, although generally thought to emerge between 3 and 6 years of age. Evidence suggests that even infants might possess some form of understanding of people's minds other than their own. Neural maturation during adolescence, on the other hand, is more rapid than at any time other than prenatal through early childhood. Unlike early childhood, when neural dominates, adolescence is characterized by neural pruning and refinement. This process proceeds generally from posterior to anterior, with prefrontal cortex maturing last. The electrophysiological changes during this period of time may be most easily be measured during the sleep of the adolescents. The brain's electrical activities as measured in EEG shows jumps in neuroelectrical activities and becoming much more complex during puberty, followed by a linear increase while age through later adulthood. During maturation, between 7 to 25 years of age, the maximum gain in complexity occurs over the frontal associate cortex. And some key observations during adolescence include a significant decline in delta brainwaves frequencies during non-rapid eye movement sleep, suggesting synaptic pruning and streamlining of the brain neural networks. This shift is accompanied by a shift in power to higher brainwaves frequencies, particularly in beta brainwaves, and especially in processing neural networks and the posterior cingulate cortex, a hub of the default mode of the neural networks. It appears that these changes are strongly linked to age rather than other sexual maturation milestones, as with studies of earlier development, studies of the electrical activities of the brain might augment spectral power measures and give greater insights into the changes in complexity and integrated information that are central to consciousness development of the human being. To summarize, first, the electrical magnetic fields within the human brain play a role in a feedback loop throughout the neural development of the human beings. Internally generated fields created by subcellular processes as well as neural interactions influence neural architectures within the human brain. The neuroelectrical field exhibits distinct changes throughout the human development, particularly during key milestones such as the emergence of the theory of mind in early childhood and declines when disorders of cognition and consciousness appear. The clear involvement of neuroelectrical field in the emergence, development, and decline of consciousness suggests the need for standardized measures of the neuroelectric field that will enable trajectories through the lifespan of a human being to be constructed by multiple research groups and shared within the neuroscience community. Complexity measures derived from dynamical systems theory appear to be viable candidates for this task, for example, but more research is definitely human needed. Consciousness, cognition, perception, and self-awareness are all related, but may also represent different aspects of higher order cognitive functions of the human brain. To capture the full spectrum of conscious experience and differentiate between its interrelated aspects, it may be valuable to extend the investigation towards the life and death continuum, where cognitive functions is impaired, but awareness may still be present. Research on altered or minimal states of consciousness, such as those observed in coma, anesthesia, or REM sleep, could provide insights into the limits and the robustness of neuroelectric field complexity as a correlate of human consciousness. In this context, additional physical measures such as biophotons are proposed as providing more insights into the sphere of life and death. In addition to looking at the developmental phases of the humans, expanded states of consciousness, such as those induced by meditation or medication, also offer unique opportunities to modulate and examine the electrical field's dynamics within the human brain. Exploring these dynamic attributes of these states could also extend our ability to distinguish conscious awareness and subjective human experience from other higher order cognitive functions. Interestingly, both near-death states and deep meditative states have been associated with gamma brainwaves frequencies and long-distance phase synchrony, as well as cross-frequency coupling with both theta and alpha brainwaves frequency, both demonstrating higher cortical connectivity compared with normal waking state of an adult human. In this paper, these scientists also note that photons, or light particles, are ripples in the electrical magnetic field in the terahertz frequency range, around 400 to 750 terahertz. And they also identify specific electrical magnetic field phenomena correlate with the last detectable neural activity patterns before loss of conscious awareness, potentially enhancing their understanding of the boundaries of human conscious awareness and supporting related medical strategies. These authors also debate that EEG, as in measuring the brain's electrical activities in hertz, may be the most direct measure of the mind available, yet it remains an underutilized tool for measuring and analyzing human consciousness and human awareness. The implementation and adoption of standardized complexity measures may enable the EEG tool to be used as a reliable clinical instrument for monitoring the developmental of human consciousness and human awareness through the lifespan of a human, as well as the detector for disorders of consciousness. The electrical fields model provides a consistent framework that points that the developmental phase of the human brain could be done in the computational research fields and research tools to advance within this particular. I will share the link to this paper, which was published at Science Direct, February 2025, below if you're interested in reading it more, because it's pretty long. But I feel like it's very interesting, and I highly encourage you, if you're interested in reading it, to also make sure that you understand the definition of consciousness, because when we talk about consciousness, at a scientific level, scientists appear to have a different way of describing what consciousness is, because when you go into the lab, you really need to define what you are testing and what you are measuring and what you're talking about. And in this case, it's the state of being awake versus being asleep and so forth. So they actually discuss that as well. But on the other hand, when you go out of the scientific community, then the consciousness is, it's sort of a, from my experience at least, what I've noticed is it's a loaded way of defining it, I guess. And so I highly encourage you, if you read this paper, to also look at in the way in which they have identified and defined consciousness. That way it makes it easier to understand where these scientists are coming from, as opposed to using the definition of consciousness the way in which is maybe has been proposed in the non-scientific community, because it's always important to make that distinction when you're reading a paper, because that makes the reading of the paper a little bit more closer to what the research scientists had in mind in terms of what they're actually researching, because you always have to define what you're researching. Yeah, that's all I had for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.